Yikes.
Pick up the phone and start dialing.
Speak the words and I will make you richer. The most powerful CEO in the United States of America.
This is session number 2 of Sandwich Lease Options, where we're talking about making bigger profits. Last week, we really talked about how a sandwich lease option is structured. We went through and showed you the deal structure, how the money flows through you in a sandwich. In an assignment lease option, you're assigning, or a wholesale lease option, you're assigning your position over to the tenant buyer in exchange for a lump sum cash, non-refundable option fee, and then you're walking away. Okay, but in a sandwich lease option, you're staying in the middle. So we talked last week about how it flows through and how you make a substantial bit more money doing a sandwich lease option than you do doing a wholesale or an assignment lease option. So that's why people do it, because it makes a lot more money. This is a great way to build passive income as well. All right. You could argue and say, yeah, but it's only for 2-3 years. Okay, great. Get you a couple dozen of these things cooking, and keep the machine going. All right. You'll be cashing some nice checks too, some front ends and then some big back ends. All right. So we talked all about that last week, and I would open up the floor for questions. If you guys have any questions about anything we talked about last week that you thought of during the week, or we can jump right into the rules, because I really want to talk about rules tonight. And I want you guys to feel free to unmute your cameras and turn on your microphones and ask questions, and let's talk about these rules. There is some risk to doing sandwich lease options, and I want you to mitigate that risk. Okay. You will sometimes hear people with a bit of a boohoo story about sandwich lease options, and I understand why. I've been there. I've made these mistakes. I learned this the hard way. Okay. So I've got some rules that I go by when it comes to sandwich lease options, and I want to go through them with you tonight. All right. And let's go ahead and share screen here. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it with the whiteboard here. Rules for doing sandwich lease options. Let's just jump right into the rules. We were talking a little bit last week about some of the rules, because you guys are really, you guys are kind of advanced and trying to push the tempo a little bit on me. I love that. Okay. Rule number 1 is put the homeowner in the driver's seat. Okay. Now I want you guys to listen very carefully about what I'm about to say next. Okay. If you want to avoid in a situation where your tenant buyer moves out midstream, if you want to avoid an uncomfortable conversation in an uncomfortable scenario and a finger pointing session where they're all pointing at you and blaming you because this tenant buyer moved out, it didn't work, now what's going to happen? Okay, then you need to set up your lease options, especially your sandwich lease options, properly. You need to put the homeowner in the driver's seat. Now, here's how I do it. Very, very simple. In the closing section of our phone call, when I'm talking to the lead, I'll say this, Mr. Homeowner. Usually it follows some objection that he has. Oftentimes they will ask the question, what happens if they move out? What happens if they stop paying? What happens if they hurt something in the home? What happens if this goes awry? Okay, if they ask that question, my response is always this. Mr. Homeowner, we do background checks, rental checks, make sure the landlords they've had before have good stories about them, income verification, criminal backgrounds, tenant screens. We do the whole 9 yards. Plus, these are folks that want to qualify for the home loan to buy this home, so they're not your normal tenants. but I do understand your concern. If I change the agreement to read that you can either approve or disapprove of this potential tenant buyer I want to put in here. If I put it in the paperwork that you can approve or disapprove, does that make you feel more comfortable and can we move forward? Okay. That's exactly how I explain it to the homeowner. Why am I doing this? Because in the chain, okay, let's just play it straight here. Let's play it super straight. There are some coaches and gurus out there that tell you to promise them everything. Promise the homeowner that you will evict that person, that you will come in and make the payment in their absence. If the tenant buyer moves out, if this falls apart, that you'll come in and you'll paint the place again and you'll clean the carpet and you'll get it all ready to go. That you'll do all this stuff. Hey, you don't need to worry about anything. We'll take over the maintenance and the payments. And as far as you're concerned, you are out and gone and done. Oh, that sounds real good. And that sells real good, but that's just not reality unless you got a lot of money that you can bankroll that deal. And I say that because about 60% of these tenant buyers will buy. About 40% of the time, they're going to find an excuse to not buy, and they're going to move out midterm. You guys are like, oh man, this is bad news. I thought you was training us to do this, like get us excited about it and shit. No, I'm telling you the truth. Okay. But now I'm going to show you how you mitigate this and you fix it. You plan for these. Okay. So that you can monetize and make even more money, to be honest. Okay. So knowing that only 6 out of 10 are going to work out. Okay. If you go in promising the world to that homeowner, you've got a 4 in 10 chance of having to eat your words. Okay. And it won't even be because you decided. It'll be because the tenant buyer decided to move. Okay. So you won't always want to make that homeowner a part of the deal with you. Mr. Homeowner, if I can change the documents to allow you to be in the driver's seat, you can approve or disapprove before they move in. Does that make you feel more comfortable? Okay. Yes. Great. Now I have a partner in the seller. Okay. Sometimes the seller will be like, hey, what happens if they stop paying and we have to evict them? Like what happens then? I'd say, well, Mr. Homeowner, you tell me what happens. What would happen normally if what do you think would happen? He said, well, I would have to evict those people. Yeah, you would. Yeah. Cause you're still the owner, right? Like I'm going to be a part of this deal, but remember I put you in the driver's seat. So we're gonna have to work together to get those people out of there and replace them. And here's what I'll do, Mr. Homeowner. When I replace them with someone else, if you've had to make a payment or two in the meantime, I'll give you that money back when I put someone new in. Did you guys catch that? Okay. See, I'm setting all these up before I actually pin the deal. Like this is part of my negotiations. I'm negotiating a plan for failure. And that plan in my mind does not include me stepping up and making these damn payments. What it does include is me coming back to the table to find a new tenant buyer while the seller's making the payment. And then I can come in and I can reimburse him out of my new option, my new non-refundable option fee. I just collected another 10 grand out of a second tenant buyer here. I'll give you 3,500 of that to catch up. That's fair. That's honest. And I'm still making money. Okay. And I'm not telling this homeowner blue sky, blue sky, blue sky while it's fucking thundering. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's why people get pissed at you. Because yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask, well, couldn't you do that like anyway, since you got the first option money, so you can keep the deal going so they won't get pissed that they're dishing out the money
Yeah, you could. You know,
and then just get that back.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
So you can
one
keep
way
the
to
ball
do it,
going.
Philip. When you get that first non-refundable option fee, let's say it was 10 grand. If you were a smart business person and you didn't run out to the Home Depot and Best Buy the next day and spend all 10 grand of it, if you put 3,500, 4 grand, 5 grand in the hole somewhere, okay, then you could eat those payments. All right. But you know, so you could. So there's this is creative real estate. So there's at least a couple ways to do it there. Okay. I've done it both ways and they both work. You just have to have a plan here. Okay. So make sure that when you're talking with the homeowner, you use some of these phrases that I'm using. Okay. And if the homeowner says, hey, well, who's going to evict these people? Don't be like, well, I'm going to go in there and I'll evict them and blah, blah. Okay. You know what? You probably going to need that guy's help, especially if you're new in this business. Wouldn't you rather have a partner with that homeowner than like somebody pointing his finger at you saying, what are you going to do? You better fix this. You said this, and now look at this. Okay. That's a horrible feeling. And I've been there. Okay. Put the homeowner in the driver's seat. Let's change that because, or don't spend all the money. I think that's fair. Put the homeowner in the driver's seat or don't spend all the money. One of the two. That's a good one. Anybody have any comments or thoughts on that? That's that's a pretty big topic. We could talk about that a while. Anybody have anything they want to add to this?
Yeah, I got a quick question.
Yeah.
So I know we talk about the mortgage payments. Do we outsource that to a third party company to make those payments, or do we get the payment and we make our payments ourselves?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's totally up to you. Okay, some folks like to have an escrow company hold on to this stuff, and that's a great idea. It's not absolutely 100% necessary. I'm going to talk about this more in rule number 5, I think it is. So hang on to that. We'll get into that. Okay, number 2 is
wow, you're gonna make me wait.
Yeah. Okay, give yourself longer than you give the tenant buyer. What do I mean, guys? Somebody tell me.
Oh yeah, you create a contract for say 36 months, an agreement with the seller for 36 months, but you only give the tenant buyer 24 months.
Yeah. What would even be better is if I had a 36-month contract with the homeowner, but then I gave the tenant buyer 18.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if he
Even
moves
better.
out, let's say he moves out at the 12-month mark or 13th month mark. Now I can really have time to do this all over again, don't I?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Also, you have to consider if you give this guy 24 months and you have a 24-month contract,
Yeah.
and he plays around with it till the 23rd month, and then he goes and figures out that he's still 90 days away from a loan, guess what? His stuff expired. Give him some playroom. Okay. So if you got a tenant buyer that can qualify in 24 months, make sure that you've got a note. I mean, the agreement with the seller that you can do it for at least 36 or 6 months beyond where he's at, 32 or something, give him a little bit of window. Give yourself longer than you give the tenant buyer. If you don't, let's say you mess up and you go in and you give the tenant buyer 36 months and you only had 24 to begin with. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible that somebody does that. That's silly. That doesn't even mathematically add up. So,
Yeah.
you can't give away something you don't have.
Right.
But you don't want to give the whole thing away. So if you have a 36-month term with the homeowner, then give the tenant buyer 6 months beyond what he can tell you that he needs. If it's a couple years, then give him 31 months or something. Okay, that's good advice. Good advice. Number 3 here. Anybody got questions on any of that? Okay.
That's no lie.
Okay. Screen the heck out of your tenant buyer, guys. Let's talk about this. Can you guys see this? The qualifying a tenant buyer, did it pop up?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a little cheat sheet. It's in the Outsource Lease Options 2.0 course, but I'll add it to this stuff when we're done. Okay. You first off want to make sure that they're wanting to rent to own this thing and not just lease it. Okay. You're not trying to slide the option agreement in there or the assignment or whatever it is, and trick them into this. Okay. Make sure this is what they want to do. And then go by this guideline here. You must find out if they have 2 years of good rental history. If they don't want you calling their previous landlords, there is a reason why, y'all. If I was renting a house from Steve for 12 months and I moved out, and now I'm afraid of anybody talking to Steve because I know Steve's going to talk some real bad stories on me because I left his place in a dump and I didn't pay him the last 3 months I lived there.
I'm looking for you.
Yeah, he's probably looking for me. So don't call him. Okay, so you must verify they have 2 years of good rental stories. Okay. Number 2, make sure they have jobs that produce enough income to buy that house. That's about 3 times what the payment is, minimum. If the house is $1,500 a month, they need to be making a minimum of keep money where they get to keep it $4,500 a month. That's a minimum. That's tight. Okay.
What about if it's he's getting like some cash money and some because he's self-employed?
I'm sorry, say that again, Mag. I didn't understand.
If they're getting some cash money because they are self-employed, self-employed people, sometimes they get cash and sometimes they get check.
Yeah, self-employed people, they will have to prove their income, and how they prove their income is with tax returns and bank statements. Okay. So here, let me share this with you. I'm not sure you guys are seeing it, but I want to make sure you see it. Were you guys seeing this?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Follow this guide. This is a little cheat sheet here.
All right.
You can see number 1, 2 years of good rental history. Number 2, jobs that produce income sufficient to support the payment. Number 3, make sure they have that money in hand for the option fee. Okay. You're not in the business of helping people. Okay. Like, you are going to help people, but you are in the business with the crazy idea of turning a profit here, right? It trips me out. I have had several people in my short coaching career come to me and say, my big why for getting into real estate is I really, really want to help the homeless people of America, and I want to build blocks of free housing for people where they can come and they don't have to worry about, okay, that's wonderful. well, when you get back from Pluto, let me know and we can talk about reality. Okay. I'm not trying to poo-poo your dream, but that's crazy shit, man. You are not going to be able to be a philanthropist, okay, in that sense, until you've made some money. Help yourself. Charity starts at home, right? Okay. So they must have this option fee. If they don't have the option fee, I'm not willing to talk much longer. Okay. I may talk a little bit longer and say, well, is there anywhere you could come up with some down payment, like maybe your grandma or your mom, or maybe you could get it off some credit cards or anything like this? I mean, any kind of loan you can get from Uncle Larry or no? Okay. All right. Well, this isn't going to be a good fit for you. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Click. If they say, oh yeah, I've got that money. I've got 12,000 I could put into this. Oh, you do? You have 12,000? Okay. Where is it? Well, it's we have 2,700 now. Say it again.
Under the mattress.
Yeah. Well, we have 2,700 now under the mattress. But we're waiting on a settlement check from a lawyer, and it's coming in. It should be here any day. Bullshit. You ain't got no money.
You don't want that guy anywhere.
You don't want him. Yeah. Make sure they have the money. Oh, well, I got that money. I could do 12,000 down. Where is it? It's in the bank.
I can get it. You can?
Yeah, exactly. Is it in the bank? Where is it? It's in the bank. Is it in your checking account where you could write a check or have a cashier's check drawn on it? Because we will need certified funds, and we'll need them when signatures are due and keys are exchanged. Is this going to be a problem, Mr. Tenant Buyer? Okay. I'm not playing around with the money. That's why I'm in business. Okay. Some of you guys aren't used to talking to people that way, but you better learn. There's an old proverb that comes out of the book of Proverbs in the Bible. Solomon wrote it, and it says that the rich man answers roughly. The rich man answers roughly. Yeah. Short and to the point. Have you ever noticed people that are really good with money are usually like the no bullshit, like right to the point kind of people, especially when talking about money? Yeah, sure. You need
ye with the gold makes the rules.
Yeah, you have to become this a little more than where you are currently in your life. I've had to do it myself. I've had to step up a little bit in this. Okay, because if you're not this, then the alternative is the beggar guy. And oh, well, you got 2,700. Oh, well, that we might be able to do something with that. And oh, you're not getting it until next Friday. Oh, you're supposed to have you got the surplus check you're waiting on, and you're going to okay. No, I'm not trying. This isn't UNICEF. Okay.
Is this a download?
Do what?
Is this a download?
Oh, this is in the Outsource Lease Options 2.0 course. This is in the pre-qualify your tenant buyer module. But I'm going to throw it all together. I'll put it in the VIP room in the group tonight if you want to download this. Number 4 is willing to do a tenant screening. If this all sounds good, then they can see the house. Okay. So I'll ask them, I'll say, hey, you have to do it, in order to qualify here, you'll have to submit to a background check, criminal records, all that credit stuff, everything. Is that going to be a problem? If you're telling me anything wrong, I mean, I'll find out about it then, right? I don't mind talking to them like that. I'm not going to leave much to chance here. Why do I want to know about their credit? Somebody explain that to me. Why do I want to know about these guys' credit?
Builds character. What kind of person they're going to be paying their bills?
Sure.
Also, you want to know if they're actually going to be able to qualify at some point for the loan that they are supposed to get to be able to complete this deal for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Both of you are absolutely right. I couldn't have said it better myself. You want them to qualify for this note eventually. And if you see on there that they just got foreclosed on last year, they had 2 repos of vehicles and an eviction. Do you think they're going to qualify for this note anytime in the next 18 months? I mean, if you don't know, now you know. So take a look. All right. Don't be afraid, because remember, you're sandwiching this deal. You're not just trying to make a quick buck off somebody. You're trying to be a good professional real estate investor that makes wise decisions that work. If you don't, and you put the wrong person in there, I promise you heartache, stress, anxiety, and misery. Put the right person.
Very good.
No, you got to have the right person. Okay, rule number 4. Pay the seller's mortgage for them. What do I mean when I say that? Somebody tell me.
Whether the house has got it, whether you're receiving money or not, you got to keep up your end of the deal.
Yeah. How do I know that? How do I know that seller is not pocketing all that money I send him every month and not paying the mortgage with it? And this house is going to go into foreclosure, and then the bank is going to get it back. And then guess what? I'm liable for a lawsuit now on this option fee I took.
I do everything through an escrow company or service.
Yeah. So you can do it through an escrow company service. Yep, that's correct.
What do they charge? What is the fee for the escrow company to do that? I mean, they don't do it for free, do they?
No.
Nothing's for free.
No.
Right.
I don't really know, because I don't use one. But what do you do, Steve? How much is it? Is it 2 or 3%?
Sometimes it's a flat fee, like $10, if you're giving them enough business. All right, like the people that I have doing it are also collecting on mortgages for me, and also this is just an added service. But if they're behind, I mean, they let me know, but they're not making phone calls or servicing it in that way. I'll do that. Pick up the phone and shake the wraith of God in their face. But that they collect it, and it's just it's $10. But you got to check around. A lot of law firms will do it. Some collection agencies will do it. But look for somebody that's bonded. You don't want them collecting your money and forgetting to pay either.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah.
How exactly would you find something like that? Like if you were to look it up on Google or something, you know what I mean? Like if you were just to search it online, what would you look up? Just like certain mortgage servicers, or I mean, rent service?
You don't want a mortgage service. You probably want you just want just an escrow company of some sort.
Just a normal escrow company.
Yeah.
Okay.
A payment escrow company, or like that rent escrow company. A lot of realtors, if they're licensed by the state, they'll do it. Some of them will do it. The management companies that handle rentals, they'll do it. So.
Yep. There's probably a handful of ways to do this. You want to make sure whatever method you pick, though, that you're made aware that the mortgage is being paid. Okay. I have even had sellers object to this and say, well, I don't know that you're going to make my mortgage payment, and that's my credit we're talking about. Okay, great. So Mr. Homeowner, if we can change up the agreement here where you make the payment to the home mortgage company, but you show me proof of payment, or you give me access maybe to log in so I can see the account or something.
Have to have access.
Would that make you feel more comfortable? Yeah. So, you can set it up, but several ways, but just make sure you're setting it up where you're protected here. I forgot to bring up in rule number 3, screen the heck out of your tenant buyer, that part of that is sending them to a residential mortgage loan originator. In other words, a home loan guy. I send them to 1-800 Mortgage or whatever. Okay. It used to be Quicken. All right. But so anyway, number 4, pay the seller's mortgage for them. You want to make sure that's getting paid. That's if they don't pay it, what's it called? Anybody know? If your homeowner is not paying the mortgage with the rent, what's that called? Anybody know?
Fraud.
It is fraud, but there's a term for it. It's rent skimming. Rent skimming. Yeah. At least that's what they call it around here. Okay.
So in actuality, all these that you're telling us to do, you should have some kind of cheat sheet to make sure and check off, okay, I did this, I did this, I did this before you
Yeah.
even move forward with any of that.
Yeah. I'm going to give you that.
That's a lot to remember.
I'll get.
2 more to go.
I'll give you this cheat sheet when we're done with it. Oh, and then that other cheat sheet we were looking at too. I'll give you that too. So you should be good. Would that help you? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, because my memory's jacked, man.
Okay. I understand, man. Me too. That's why I write it down. All right. You got to pay the seller's mortgage for him. Here's another thing you need to do too. When you do this deal with the seller, you need to make sure that the homeowner changes insurance policies. We talked a little bit about this last week. What are we talking about now? Somebody just recap before we move on to number 5. Homeowner changes insurance policies. Why is this important? What are we talking about? Anybody know? Well, up until now, the homeowner has lived in the property. He has a I live there policy.
It's a rentals insurance.
If I burn the house down, I live there, I burned it down, insurance pays for it. If you have a homeowner that moves out and a renter moves in, then he needs to change from a I live there policy to now I'm a landlord policy. Okay.
Will that change? What's that word I'm looking for? Because I guess they have to have insurance if they still have a mortgage, right? So, So if they change it to a renter's thing, does that have any red flags for the bank, or does that affect us?
Very rarely will that affect you.
Okay.
Only on certain loan types that the seller has. And if they're government backed, like perhaps a VA loan or maybe some of these other government backed loans, they'll have a clause in the loan that says that you cannot rent this property out for the first 7 years or till you've owned it for 7 years or some number. And so, yes, when the insurance company changes policies, they'll send a letter to the mortgage lender to let them know that policies have been changed for your records. Here's the new policy. It is now a landlord's policy. If that home loan lender has one of those clauses in his deal with this, first home buyer, probably, and they're not supposed to be renting it out, they could technically call the note due, but they're not going to. I've tested it.
I heard other investors actually add a renter's insurance for themselves, or they tell their tenant to get renter's insurance.
Yes. Your tenant also needs tenant insurance. Yep. Tenant needs tenant insurance. I forgot to put that up here in number 3 too. I got all this written down myself so I don't forget. Now look at me, dude. Okay. So, yeah, screen the heck out of your tenant buyer. You need to get them in touch with like Rocket Mortgage or somebody, and then they also have to have tenant insurance. Pay seller's mortgage for them. Homeowner changes insurance policies. Okay, we are we all kind of clear on that? Number clear as mud, right, Philip? You guys are like, holy shit. I thought these were going to be nice, easy rules. These are fucking complicated. It's not that bad.
Yeah. Look, we'll get it.
You're making lease option much harder now.
I'm making you a real professional at it. See, if I didn't tell you all this, you'd run out here and you'd make these little silly mistakes and they'd bite you in the butt. These are the silly mistakes I've made, and they bit me in the butt. And it's funny how when you make a little silly mistake, like making sure that you have the homeowner change the policy over to a landlord policy, when you forget a little thing like that, it's funny how the universe just suddenly picks that house for a kitchen fire or some shit. You know what I mean? Isn't that funny how your one weak spot where you fucked up, now it's just like, hey, that's the universe poking you right there. I've seen it happen, guys. So You know, here's your checklist. We're putting it together. It's not that hard. Not that hard. Everybody's, I feel like I discouraged everybody. I'm so sorry.
Max
All
the
right.
match pays a visit.
Say it again, Steve.
I said Max the match pays a visit. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what you mean.
Okay, you're not from New York, so you don't know who Max the match is. It's okay.
Is he like
Max with the matches have a successful fire? You see?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think I get it now a little bit.
There you go.
Number 5, no rent credits. What am I talking about here, guys? Anybody know? No rent credits. In other words, don't tell the tenant buyer, hey, your payment's going to be $1,000 a month, and for every month that you make it on time, I'm going to take $100 off the purchase price. Don't do it. The reason why you don't do it is because of the Dodd-Frank Act. Okay? Because they are looking for people who are trying to do unscrupulous things to tenant buyers, promising them things and setting them up for failure. And that's not the business you're in. Okay? So you keep it clean and you don't offer rent credits. That keeps it clean. You have a lease and you have an option. You don't mingle the two. To mingle the two would be rent credits. You're mingling the two with rent credits. Your lease and your option, now you're mingling the two. Okay, don't mingle the two. Now, here's the next one. It ties right along in with number 5.
Oh yeah.
Use separate lease and option agreements. What am I talking about here? Anybody know? This is the last rule. I'm not going to discourage you anymore tonight, Philip. Mag is discouraged you. What do I mean? Use separate lease and option agreements. You got to use 2 different agreements, not one. Have you guys ever seen a combo agreement? That's a lease option agreement. It's both, both in one. Don't use it. Can anybody venture a guess why, or tell me why?
You want to separate agreements because on the back end, if you put a person inside this property, you want to be sure that if you're going to evict them, it's just strictly on the lease. You don't want to introduce options to the courthouse if you can get away with it.
Absolutely. You drag a fucking option agreement up in there and they'll have it twisted 4 ways from Friday into some kind of owner finance bullshit scheme you put together to take advantage of this and whatnot. Okay. Don't do it.
Now it's a foreclosure.
Now you got to foreclose these people. Yeah. Okay. Don't do it. Just use separate documents. Right.
So the lease, let me see here. The lease, both of those contracts still go to the tenant buyer though, right?
Oh yeah.
One at a later date, one now, or how does that work?
No, you can do them both at the same time. It's just, I'm talking about instead of having the lease and the option agreement both on the same paper, you have 2 different sets of papers. One's the lease and here's the option. That's it. Okay. All right. Now there's more to this one.
A quick question too on the contracts that you're making. Do you ever give a copy to the tenant buyer?
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Number 6, use separate lease and option agreements. Especially if you're doing this virtually. Especially if you need to evict someone in a different state. Holy shit, keep it simple and just have a lease. You know what I mean? Okay. Now, number 6, also when I say file your option, use those separate agreements and then file your option. What do I mean by that? Anybody tell me? I should have said record your option.
You want to record a notice of option, right?
Yes.
I'm not going to file the actual option agreement.
Let's just
It's
say
going to show dollar amounts and names and everybody else. I don't do that. I just record the notice of option, and it just saved me a lot of money. Ooh.
so what you're doing, Steve, is you're clouding the title, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what you want to do, is you want to take your option now and cloud the title down at the courthouse. It should cost you about 60, 70 bucks if you're doing it the right way. Okay. I don't know. Different municipalities are different, but at least that's kind of been an average for me. But to file this down there at the courthouse, to cloud the title. Why do you want to cloud the title? Anybody tell me, why would I want to cloud this guy's title? And doesn't that seem mean? No, it's not mean.
So that you have to be notified whenever someone tries to sell it or do any sort of financing on this property outside of your agreement.
Yeah. If this guy tries to screw me and the tenant buyer, he ain't going to be able to without me knowing about it first. Right? That's why you do it. That's the same reason why you pay the seller's mortgage form in rule number 4. You want to relieve your risks here, and this relieves a lot of risk for you.
And it gives the buyer's attorney a heart attack.
Yeah, because you'll have to release it at the end. Yeah. Yeah. So guys, that's the 6 major rules there. I hope that was not too much and too confusing for you. I hope you enjoyed it too a little bit, learned a little bit. I know you guys said it was a little scary. It is daunting. When you're brand new in this business, that's why I recommend people do a few assignment lease options first, where you're just assigning it over, making some quick cash. But what you can see, it's more lucrative to do a sandwich lease option by far. So if you can kind of grow up in the business a little to the point where you have a little money, you won't spend all the money, or you can put the deal together using these rules, you'll stay safe. You'll have happy homeowners. You'll have happy tenant buyers. And when they move out because it didn't work or they had a change of life, then you have a much smoother transition and now another opportunity to make more money if you've done it right. If you haven't done it right, then you got people mad at you.
Shut up.
Yeah. Any questions, guys? I'm gonna take this video and I'm gonna burn it. This is like the least popular session I've ever taught. People are like, oh, I think I'm gonna quit real estate tonight. Oh.
I'll have questions once I start doing it. I'll call all you guys.
That's cool. That's cool.
I think I want to do this again.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's help one another get deals. So, if you've got questions or anything, you know where to find us, guys. I appreciate all you being here. We've got several watching on the Facebook and several here in the room. John, Mag, Alex, David, Ginger. Good to see you, Ginger. Steve, thank you for being here, man. It's always a joy to see you. Victor, Philip, anybody, anything before we cut out of here?
It's not a joy to see me.
Say what?
It's not a joy to see me. Only
Did
Steve?
I not say that? Did I say?
No, my feelings are hurt. I'm leaving by.
Victor, I meant double for you, man.
Yeah. Actually, laughing.
Victor, I left you out because I had a special message for you later that I can't share for the group.
Oh, yeah. So,
well, what's this rated? Is it rated R or rated GP or what?
Look at Steve. Starting stuff.
Wow.
I do got one question on when you're negotiating price with a seller of the house. As far as the price of the house, is it going to be lower as far as the price that you're giving the seller for a sandwich lease, or is it the same if you're like going to assign it or sandwich lease? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's about the same either way. You know, you're going to calculate your sales price to the tenant buyer based on the amount of appreciation in that neighborhood for the term that you can get. Okay, that's kind of how you calculate it. So it's all done the same, no matter whether you're going to stay as a sandwich or an assignment. And the ballpark figure is if you're going to do 3 years, you know, you can probably tack on 10%. That's kind of the general rule of things. So yeah, either sandwich or assignment, doesn't matter. Anybody else? Sorry, Steve. What'd you say?
Not a word.
All right, guys. Have a great night. We'll see you again tomorrow at noon. Okay.
All right, buddy. You guys take care.
Sounds good.
I love y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
No more questions.